Jason's old hat. He's been here the most.
Yeah, I have.
He's old hat.
He's the old hat at this, buddy. He's like,
yeah, you're right. I
feel like I'm sitting across from Joe Rogan.
Dude, when he gets to hear the other ones that we did, it ties this whole story.
Yes, it does.
That's
the point. That's
bro,
what we
it's
wanted.
Epic.
It's what we wanted.
Bro, it's epic.
But I'm glad you haven't listened to Jason's.
No.
I'm glad he didn't until it's good. And then go back and I have. I just cry.
I didn't even tell my wife about this till yesterday. I kept thinking about it since the day you asked to tell her. And Jason just nailed it too. He goes, you were just stuffing that shit down because in my mind, I wasn't going to do it.
I know.
I didn't want to do it, so I didn't. So why tell her about it when it ain't happening?
Right.
He walked up to me this morning. He goes, bro, we're not doing this. I said, yeah, we needed it. And he's like, I'm not doing it.
Well, guess what? You're here. Hey, I'm going to pray us in real fast, and then we're going to get going. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this moment, Father. We ask that you sit with each one of us. Father, open our hearts, open our minds. Give us peace, knowing that we're working together as men to get through toughest things that we can get through, Father. I thank you for Jason and Mike, Father. I ask that you lay hands on them and give them peace as they work through this trauma in their lives. Father, that everything we learn today, everything we speak of today saves another soul. Everything we do is to save, Father. We look to educate and to get other people to come to you. Father, we pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Let's go to work, boys. Give us a minute. We'll bring you in.
You sit on the toilet, don't you? Use that as your meditation.
Not my wife, not your wife, nor anybody listening to this podcast has eaten a shit sandwich we didn't have a hand in making.
Welcome to Recovery Unfiltered. I'm Larry. I'm an alcoholic.
I am Rob. I am also an alcoholic. We are not professionals. There are no letters after our names. We know very little. However, you will hear the word God and a four-letter word in the same sentence. You will also be offended. So if you are easily offended, just pass us by. This podcast is not for you.
Our opinions are just that. If you don't agree with what we're saying, that's okay. We're going to love you anyways. We are not in any way affiliated with AA.
So sit back, grab a beverage of your choice, and get ready.
Let's go. Hello, Rob.
What's up, Larry?
How are you?
I'm excellent, buddy. Thank you for the sounds. I'm going to drink right now and swallow.
Motherfucker.
Hey, not...
Already the F-bombs, you prick.
I didn't do it. You said it.
Because you caused me to do it.
Do I sound all right? He's got my mic turned down. Do you want me to say
I do not. Oh, yeah, I do. Sorry.
Yeah, you do. Such an ass. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Hey, you can reach out to us at recoveryunfilteredpodcast@gmail.com. That's recoveryunfilteredpodcast@gmail.com. Guess what happened yesterday, fucker?
You turned 3 years old. You're still shitting green.
Hey, we're going to do another whole podcast later down because there's some stuff I want to talk about going up to the birthday celebrations. Katie brought that up that says that, I still go through such a tremendous period of reflection during those last few weeks that
lead up to your birthday.
Yeah, and I want to go through those. I want to use those to maybe share that, get that out a little bit. So we're gonna do that a little bit down the road. But guess what we got today, boy?
What do we have today, boy?
We got a good one today, boys.
He must have saw me when the water was cold. That's bullshit.
Jason.
What's up?
What's up, my brother?
What's up, brothers?
Damn, it's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Love you guys, man.
Who do you got sitting across from you?
Mike Stillman, my my brother.
Mikey?
Yes.
Yep.
Welcome, brother.
Thanks.
How you feeling?
Fine. How does fine feel?
Fucked up, insecure,
neurotic, and emotional.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, we're going to be good, man. We're going to be good. So we're going to dig in for a little bit, talk to Mike a little bit, talk about his, we preferenced this podcast last week. So our listeners are a little aware of the situation. We know that, Jason and Mike's sons were in an accident together. We're going to get to that a little bit later, but we're going to get to know Mike first because we all know Jason, right? If you remember, Jason is 3 and 4 and number 20, right? 3 and 4 was his story. Number 20 is his life after with his wife, Jenny, who's got an amazing podcast going. What's her name of her podcast? I got you, bitch. It's all right. My wife don't remember mine, brother, and I've been doing this shit almost a year.
Hey, I thought it was Jenny from the block because Bonnie watches it.
It is Jenny from
Sober Sister Shit Show.
So because Bonnie goes, hey, I listened to Jenny from the block today, and she kind of said this. I said, I was just assuming that was the name of the podcast.
I knew I was going to get you on that one. So, Mike, tell us about yourself, man. Give us a little bit of your background.
Like starting where?
Well, let's start.
Where did you grow up? How
Where
did you grow up?
Oh, okay. I was born in Fort Worth, Texas.
Wow.
Moved over here when I was probably 2.
Okay.
We lived in the Bay for a little bit, but then moved to Oakdale when I was 3. So I've been there ever since.
Wow.
And let's see. I guess they always talk about the parents. My dad was an alcoholic. If it wasn't for that, he would have been a professional golfer.
Wow.
Because he golfed Pro-Am and all that stuff.
Really?
But he's too busy, according to my mom's words, chasing women and drinking.
Oh, shit.
So
Well, one comes with the other, doesn't it?
Yeah, put a damper on being a pro. But he golfed with like Lee Trevino and all the old timers.
Wow.
Like that. So he was pretty good.
Good.
He didn't have me. I learned what I know about golf watching him. But what I learned, I became the beer bitch. You know, so go get me a beer.
Bitch.
And then I remember being little, I'd love it when his friend, Don, his best friend, they'd need a beer and I'd get to go get 2, so I'd get swigs out of each of them.
Right.
Hell yeah.
Right.
And it tasted like shit, but it was Coors regular.
Right.
And so, yeah, I grew up with that. Seeing my dad knock the crap out of my mom, throw her through windows and stuff like that. It was just the way it was. Cops bringing him home drunk. And back in the day, like 3,500 people in Oakdale, they just threw him on the couch and said, don't let him leave.
Right.
You know? So, yeah, that was it. It was just normal to me. But then they divorced.
How old were you then, Mike?
I was probably 11.
But you had an older brother.
Yeah. My brother Woody's 5 years older. We moved in, came home from school one day. Oh, first, I'll just say this real quick, that my mom took me, she was in the bathroom doing her hair, like getting all primp before Dad came home. It was like back in those days, dinner on the table. Right. You know, that's the way my dad was. And she called me in the bathroom and she says, hey, if Mommy and Daddy weren't together anymore, who would you want to live with? And just a kid like that, I'm going like, my mind just started going, well, if I stay with my dad, it would just be me and him, and I wouldn't have to deal with my 3 sisters anymore. And maybe he would take me to a ball game. I still remember that thought. And so I said, I guess Dad. You know, I had no clue what was coming up. And then who knows how much longer, I'm coming home from school, Cloverland, cutting through the park. We lived up on East C Street. I got up on that street.
Gilbert Park?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when they were building it. When they were building it, I thought that sand area, they were doing that cement wall. Yeah. I was like, sweet, there's going to be a swimming pool right down the street. And it ended up being a sand park. But anyways, I come up through there, and there's a car in front of our house. We lived down towards the end of East C right there. And my mom, I could see my mom and my sisters bailing in, and all of a sudden, tail lights. And my face turned like red. I could feel the blood go, because I think I realized what was happening. And I remember running down the street, and it went around the corner, and I walked in the house, and it was empty, like flat empty. There was nothing left. And me, my brother, and my dad were living out of a Coleman ice chest. Till we were the second family to move in the Wrangler apartments right down the street.
Yeah, I know they're
because they had furnished. And then my dad splits, moves in with his girlfriend, just leaves me and my brother there. So
how old were you then?
12.
Wow.
And my brother was 17. He was like a junior.
Right.
So he became dad.
Right.
And so he basically had to raise me, whatever, cook Thanksgiving. And some drunk dude, my dad's friend, stumbles up to our place drunk, and he eats Thanksgiving with us. And we're like, okay, whatever. But that was pretty much childhood. Then it went living with dad, living with mom, trying it out wherever, and stepdads of the month and boyfriend. Some of them I didn't know if she was married to or not. And they were all, I have nothing against bikers, but they were all like biker trash. Yeah. Beards, no shirt. Come home, there's a Harley sitting in the dining room. And you're like, what the hell? And so that was my first fight with an adult, was this dude. I think at that time I was in about 8th or 9th grade, and I had been wrestling since 7th grade. So the way this guy wanted to jack me up was challenge me to wrestle. And so that way he could do it like legal. Now I'd always ignore him. And then finally I told my stepbrother, next time he does that, we're going out in the backyard. And so it happened again. I said, all right. So I threw a move on him and I nailed him with a head and arm, flipped him, spun around behind him, and he was screaming bloody murder. And I'm thinking, this dude wants me to let up, and he's going to beat, the full-grown man's going to beat the crap out of me, right? So I just was working him on the ground. I was behind him, and I was trying to work something, you know, and all of a sudden I felt something sticking out of his back, and he was screaming. And I felt this thing sticking out of his back, and it was that chicken wing, you know, your shoulder blade or whatever, it's popped out the back. I grabbed this thing, and I'm like, Mom, you better take this dude to the hospital. And I went and he was only had that much that they didn't cut. They had to rebuild, reconstruct his whole stuff.
Do you think you learned from his mistake?
We got along after that.
I bet you did. He didn't want to wrestle.
I went and apologized to him. I said, I'm sorry I ruined your golf game, because he used to golf. And we got along fine after that. But that's how I grew up, with those type of people moving in the house and thinking they were my dad. And nobody, like I told you at a breakfast, that when people tell me to do something, it ain't happening. If you ask me, I'll do anything.
All right.
And then that's when one of the guys said, Mike, will you please do your steps?
The verse says, that was do your steps.
That was, yeah.
Yeah, Mike was not one of my biggest fans.
No.
He tells a story. He says it in the room too. He don't give a fuck. He says it right in the whole room to everybody. He tolerates me now.
Well, actually, God gave me the tolerance.
Nice.
Because I hate when I'd met him before, and I'd hear him talk, and to me it was like somebody telling me what to do, or other people what to do. And after his first book study, when I showed up with my brother-in-law, I said, oh, fuck.
You talking about his Thursday nights?
Yeah. I forgot that thing was Thursday. I don't even want to be here and listen to this guy. And we walked out of it, and my brother-in-law was right by me, and I go, well, that sucked. And as I was walking to my truck, I go, okay, you're getting an attitude where what takes me out all the time is not going back to a meeting.
Recognized it.
And I said, well, next week, maybe it'll be a little better, I told Bruce. And so we come back, and I remember saying that to myself walking in, and it was a way better. I was more open, I guess, and listening. Willing, all that, because I never was before. Right. And that's one thing I've been learning this time around, was what they teach. Open-minded, willing, and learning how to listen.
Right. And
that principle before personality thing. Right. Because I would look at a dude and say, you know, I don't like this dude, and I don't even know him.
Right.
You know, at work or anywhere. And, but I started practicing that principle. It sounds weird saying these AA terms. It's like, you know, but it's
welcome
true.
To your life.
It's true. They come out of me now without even thinking about it.
Right.
And
but it's the truth.
It's true.
It is.
And the second book study, walk out with Bruce again, because I take him to all the meetings because he don't have a license. And I go, well, that one was better. And then on the way to my truck, I could vividly remember I'm thinking about it, thinking about why I'm thinking the way I'm thinking. And that's when this is the part Rob likes. When I said, you know what? I go, it just hit me. It was God. He said, well, the first thing he said, you probably don't like him because he's a lot like you. And this, and the
Which is true.
And the next thing was, I said, you know what? I told Bruce, he's just zealous for the program.
Yep.
And he looked at me. I go, he just wants people to get it.
Right.
And so he's zealous for it, and I can get on board with that. I can dig that.
Right.
And so then I told him I loved him.
There you go.
But at first, I still want to buy him the plain language
Fuck
book
that.
to screw
I'll
him
burn
up
that book to the ground.
because he quotes the other one.
Right.
Like, and I'm like, I'm going to screw this guy up and buy him one of these. Oops,
Oh, there it goes.
sorry.
That So after that, what age did you put that guy in the hospital?
He was in junior high.
Junior
Yeah,
high.
I was like
Okay.
11 or 12, something like that.
So when did you move on with your life? Like, did you go through high school living with mom?
Oh, gosh. See, I'm glad you asked some questions. I bounced around. I ended up living with...
Did you go to Oakdale High? You graduated from Oakdale High?
No, I went to Tracy High.
Okay.
Because that's where we found out where my mom moved because we didn't know. And so I went to a little bit of junior high in Tracy, and I went up to a junior at Tracy High, and I was wrestling there and stuff. And then my career year there, we used to go to the Tracy High, me and my stepbrother, and break in the main gym so we could play basketball on the hardwood. And one day we were climbing over this big fence on a rolling gate, big 10-foot tall chain link fence. And I was up at the top and it fell off the rails. And so I'm walking backwards trying to keep it from crunching me. And the top rails cracked my melon open. So that ended my undefeated career in 11th grade.
shit.
Couldn't wrestle no more. And I was on a mission to go all the way. I had made a goal in my head that I was going to go undefeated. And I was until that. And I couldn't wrestle no more. So then I was living with girlfriends, grandparents, things like that. They were getting welfare for me. And so from probably 14, I was just living wherever.
Wow.
And then I didn't know what I was going to do with my life because it was just total chaos. I mean, our fun as kids was we'd get locked out of the house, door would get locked, and you couldn't come home till the door was open. So whenever they got done smoking their weed or whatever they were doing, you'd go up and go, take back off. So me and my stepbrother, well, it's just crazy kids, nothing to do. We'd just go, what do you want to do? Oh, let's go get the cops to chase us. So we would just run amok and get cops to chase us. And it was fun. And then my mom called me in for juvenile uncontrollable. And the cops were trying to arrest me, and they were chasing me all over Tracy for about 3 days. And they couldn't catch me. And I'd be right at the house hiding in the alley while the cops are talking to my mom. And she thought, she was all excited. Oh, you got him when they pulled up. And I still remember the cop going, no, we've seen the little bastard all over town, but he's too goddamn fast. We can't catch him. And I'd be back there laughing. And then my sister ratted me out and they ambushed me in the alley. And I jumped the fence and went through these people's back down their driveway, and there was cops waiting there. So I'm like,
Gigs up, brother.
yeah. But I conned them when we got in the house because I was in gym shorts when they were chasing me, the red shorts. And I had been in that stuff for like 3 days running around town. And I conned the cop, true story. I said, hey, since you guys are taking me, can I at least put clothes on? And they're standing there in the hallway. And he goes, which room is yours? And I said, the first door on the right. So they're standing there watching. Well, the first door on the right was into the garage. And so I went out that door, out the other door right across from it. And I was on. That was part of the 3 days because they lost me right there. And they never got me again. But
Were you drink? Was any alcohol, drugs, anything going on at that time?
Nope. I hated people that drank.
Okay.
Because that's what
Because that's what you were raised in.
Right.
raised was. My dad would come home. This is crazy, but my mom would lock me in my room. I remember it was third grade at that time.
At Cloverland, my school.
Lock me in the room, till my dad came home. He would come home, walk through the door, beat the fuck out of me, and then go close the door. And so, and I'm talking like people get hit with a belt and all that. That would have been cool. But my dad hit with fists, knees, all that stuff. And I'd be curled up in the corner in the bed. And then I learned if I squirted tears, he'd quit. And so I'd squirt tears, he'd quit. He'd close the door, and I'd give him the finger to the door, and I'd jump out my window and take off. And that was 3rd grade. Wow. So I grew up getting beat like that. And then I always joke, say I think I started to like it, because I was stubborn. It didn't bother me. I could take a beating. It was like I was prepared every day. I was locked in the room. So I'll go, okay, he's home. Get ready. Then he'd leave. I'd flip him off, jump out the window. And so that was, and then the stepdads tried that shit, but like the one, I tore his whole stuff up.
Didn't work.
It didn't happen no more. You get that age.
Yeah, when you're done.
Yeah, my dad, I went to stay with him once and work for a summer, and I was walking out the door of this apartment. He lived in Modesto, and he was coming after me. And I turned around and squared up on him, and he just looked at me and stopped and turned around and went back in the kitchen. Because my mind had just said, you're not going to hit me no more.
Right.
It's not going to be the same. So I hated people that drank. And just because grew up in it.
Right.
So I don't know when let's just get back to, I quit high school in the middle of 11th grade because I hated school. I just...
and you couldn't wrestle anymore.
Yeah.
So why?
Yeah. So grades, whatever. I had okay grades. I got A's in shop and PE. I got A's in whatever I wanted to get an A in.
Right.
And then I just decided, I'm like in Sacramento, living with an ex-stepdad and my stepbrother. And I was supposed to sign up for school. I went and signed up and never went. And I'm like, what am I to do with myself? And all I was thinking about was, how am I going to get my next burger? How am I going to live? And no skills. I used to think if I knew how to read a tape measure, I'll be fine. Because I got a job in a cabinet shop when I was still in school doing that work experience.
Yeah. Right.
So I could build things and figured I was probably going to be a cabinet maker or something. But so I went in the Marine Corps, 17. And we had to drive down to find my mom in Stockton, have her sign. And then I was off and gone. And my brother was an ex-Marine. So...
Your older brother.
Yeah. When he went in when he was 17, quit. Same thing, same reason. He grew up in the same shit, but he wasn't the chosen one to get beat. He was old enough to bounce and go stay with somebody, and I was still too small. But I still remember my mom was signing the papers, and my brother goes, Mom, they're going to kill him. Because he knew how I was. Like, fuck you, do it yourself. And he knew what Marine Corps boot camp was like. And I knew what I was doing, that I was choosing this. So I excelled in that. I got a meritorious promotion in boot camp, became a squad leader and didn't get fired. They usually fire them and throw another one in. So I got a meritorious out of that. I went to school. I was a top Marine in my school. I got another meritorious. So I was like a year ahead of everybody that went in at the same time as me as far as money, because to me it was all about money.
Right.
More money.
That's higher the rate, more money.
More money. And I could move off base and whatever. So then
did you start any drinking here, any partying, or just
I used to laugh at all the jarheads because they'd get paid and we'd go to Memphis where our school was in Millington, Tennessee, and they would go just get hammered. Their check would be gone in a couple days, right?
Right.
Because the chow hall would be empty, and I'd be like, sweet. I'd just walk right in.
I never got that either. I would always get, because I was in the Navy. That's where I was going.
You
Free
guys
meal.
missed the boat. You could have been loaning money, charging points.
I know. Well,
My mind went straight to business.
Some jarheads, like when I was in Yuma, Arizona, this dude had his own beater rental car fleet. And he would rent them to the jarheads so they could go to Mexico and all that. Or they'd catch snakes and get the venom and make money. They was always trying to make money.
That's funny.
And then when they're broke, their chow hall lines around the building.
Right.
And so I didn't drink. They even sold it in like soda machines.
Oh, yeah.
Beer was in the...
Really?
What years were you in the Marines?
I went in at 80 to 84 and then 2 years on call or whatever.
Okay.
So it was back. The only thing that was going on when I went in they were praying that they could watch us get killed in Iran when the hostages. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't remember that, but
I do.
Oh, I do.
we had a pussy president.
Carter. Reagan went and got him.
Yep. The day
the day he was inaugurated, they sent him home because they didn't want their ass whooped.
they were prepping us to go there and praying that they could watch. They couldn't wait to see us get killed. Shit like that. Our sergeant, they're all non-vets, so they were psycho. Mm-hmm. But it was cool. That was the best thing. That kept me out of prison because I was crazy when I was young. We'd break into school to play basketball. And then we got to dropping into the upper windows, into the offices, finding the coffee money.
Stone cold sober.
Yeah. Just
That's
like
crazy.
So after what'd you do after the Marines?
Well, I left out the part that leads up to my son Joseph. When I was 7, when I went in the Marines, I was with this gal, and she was pregnant. Or I found out she was pregnant while I was in boot camp or something. And so Joe was born in January of 81, right? And I was still in Tennessee. And so all that happened, and I don't know where I was going with that. Just bringing Joe into the story. And because he was born in...
Were you married to his mom or...
I think we were by, just going to the court thing.
Right.
I don't really remember, but yeah, she had my name.
Okay.
So I really don't even remember that. Because that was like you don't realize how young you are, but
right.
I see my boot camp pictures and stuff, and I look and I go, man, you're just a kid.
Right.
I was still wet behind the ears because I look at 17-year-olds today, and I cannot even imagine them being where I was when I was 17.
That is a true fact.
I can't even.
Said they'd crawl with a ball and cry in a corner. They wouldn't know what to handle.
Mm-hmm. I can't imagine it. And I'm like, but it's the way you're raised. I mean, we were raised wrong. And my whole life.
Well, I don't know. Hold on a second. You say that. Certain things about that was wrong, but my childhood made me who I am, and it was a motherfucker too.
Yeah.
So it made me who I am. Fuck
there was
Jason
nothing-
knows.
there
We
was
were all
nothing-
together.
There was nothing right about
Bro,
the
we
way
were
he
in
was
those
raised.
canals, and
Oh,
our
bud.
parents, our
6,
brothers
7,
beat our ass every
right,
night.
yeah.
It wasn't like it is now.
No.
Oh, you can't offend nobody. No, go kick the
fuck
shit
you.
out of him.
Right.
Hold his head under the water.
Right.
Baptize him a little bit.
When he stops moving, let him up.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brother, he just to say one thing, when he was my dad, I called it. So he was raising me, right? And so I was running amok in Oakdale and going to alleys with BB guns and having BB gun wars, straight out trying to shoot each other and shooting people's dogs and cats in the alley. And my brother finds out, and I can still picture me. He'd have me in a headlock, just knuckling my head all the way home, dragging me up them stairs, screaming like a bitch. And then the cops come knocking on the door, and I'm like, yes. And they're questioning my brother, and the whole time I'm in the bathroom straight across from the door like this, ready to lock it because he's going to kill me, right? And the cop says, we got a phone call. You're beating on your brother. And he goes, yeah, but he tells him what I'm doing. He goes, okay, but you wait till your dad gets home that your dad beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And so they shut the door, and I'm standing there, my brother's, and I'm like, he's got to go to work, right? Because he worked at Birchel's Nursery and Brawley's and slept in school.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right? And Coach Wingo tried to get my brother to come live with him.
GW.
Yeah.
Man.
Good
the
man.
legend.
My brother was a great wrestler and track, and Wingo wanted him to come live so he could have a life, have a high school. And he didn't. He was taking care of me. But I stood there with that door locked thinking he's got to go to work, right? And I was scared to death. And so I was probably in there 2-3 hours thinking he's just waiting. And finally I go, he had to leave by now, and I opened the door and he's probably been gone since the minute the cops left.
Yeah.
But that was my dad and my brother. But
So how old are you now, Mike?
62.
So you're okay. Okay. I knew you were older than us, but I didn't know how much.
Jason and my wife are about the same age,
Yeah.
I think. Because I don't know if she knew you.
That
in
was
school.
Oakdale in a different time, man.
Yeah.
That was a whole different
Yeah.
level,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
All right, let's go back to Joseph.
yeah, he was born, and things didn't work out with me and his mom. She left me for no reason. I still didn't drink. At that time, I started treating myself like on Fridays, because I was all about taking care of family, right? I'd get a 6-pack of Moosehead, if you guys remember that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's how I'd
Sponsored
treat
by
myself on
Moosehead.
payday. I'd get a 6-pack of Moosehead, flop on the living room floor where I lived on California Street, and drink that 6-pack or part of it or whatever, listening to my tower stereo thing. You know, that's how
The 80s.
I drank. You know, that was it. And that was because the rest of the money had to go.
To the family.
Yeah. So it was no big deal. And then she ends up splitting with a dude that got $1 million law settlement. And I come home one day and same thing, shit's gone. And just like when I was a kid. And that was it. You know, she was just a materialistic person. And
Your mom.
No, this is
Joseph's
Joe's
mom.
mom.
Joseph's mom.
Okay.
Did she take Joseph?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she moved in with him in an apartment because they were gonna, you know, he just got his $1 million, so the mansion and the cars were coming soon. And so that ended that, and that's probably where I started drinking a little more at that time. And not all day, every day, but after work, I'd go with some buddies over
What were
to
you doing for work?
Hogan Manufacturing there in Escalon when that happened. And then some buddies from Escalon, you know, they'd go to Pierre's. It was called this little, I don't know what it was. It was a restaurant, but they had a bar. And my buddy was a regular there because he could pick the hors d'oeuvres for happy hour. So I started partying more on the weekends, got into a little Coke. You know, I was just going amok because, okay, I'll flash
You're
back
living
real
the
quick
80s,
to
bro.
how I grew up, though, how screwed up it was, what little bit you heard. My whole life, I told myself that is never going to happen to me. And I'm never going to treat my wife like that. I'm never going to beat my kids. And to this day, I think I remember spanking on the butt Michael, my only son was my second wife, one time. Because I could look at him and make him cry.
Right.
Or my voice would do it. And I grew up saying, I'm never going to get a divorce, never going to beat my kids, never going to do everything that I grew up in. That was my goal in life. So when that happened, when she split, I think that was just, now I can think about like, okay, everything I thought my whole life was going to be
Just left.
happened to me. And no part of me, I wasn't an abuser, I wasn't a drinker. I just brought home the money and took care of my family and did everything, like I said, the way it's supposed to be. You know, you go to work, take care of your family. And then I think now I could think about that and say, yeah, that was the beginning of the, you know, not being able to
your
deal with
life.
life on life's terms.
Right. I got
The
you.
beginning of your life.
Yeah. So I got a DUI. I was on a motorcycle because I used to just go run amok. Like right after that happened, I was just like out there.
How old were you right here?
Let's say
Ballpark.
24.
Okay.
Something like that. 24, 25. So I kicked into drinking after work.
Start touching on some cocaine. Come on.
Yep. And drinking
What was your drink? Beer or whiskey? Or what was
beer.
it? Okay.
Mostly Moosehead, probably Coors Light. I didn't go to hard stuff till this last run.
I got you.
This last time it was all straight Coors Light, just 30 packs after 30 packs.
That's
I could drink a lot
my
of beer.
jam right there.
Yeah.
Till it stops working.
I was, yeah. And where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. So I started just, I guess, not knowing what the hell. Everything happened that I had planned or thought was not going to happen. So my life was over, you know, like,
Fuck it at that point, right?
Yeah.
Fuck it.
exactly. I didn't care. I was driving around drunk on a motorcycle all the time and didn't care. I'd end up at the Series drive-in, just all of a sudden there, cruising around down the highway, everything just gone, you know. And I got the cops.
Insanity.
The cops got me. I was going down F Street in Oakdale, right by the 7-Eleven on the riverbank side of town, I call it. And I seen 2 cop cars in the parking lot. And I had my blinker on to turn because I lived right by there. And I thought, okay, just keep going straight. But no, your blinker's on.
They start thinking too much.
Yeah, they're gonna, if you did, you know. So I turn and I go to get by a block and hang a quick right. And then there they are with the lights. And so they field tested me, and I was pissed them off because they told me to say my ABCs, and I sang them like a kindergartner. And he goes, oh, okay, now say them backwards. And I said, you couldn't give me 2 weeks, and I wouldn't be able to say them backwards. Then he did stand on one leg, put your head back, and touch your nose, and I just fell into the people's front yard and then into the back of the cop car. But that was the one and only DUI I ever had. I paid him back, though, because I puked all over the back of his car on the way there. And that was a cop everybody loved in town, named Barth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Know him well.
Barth, wow, that's crazy.
And I was laughing because it was wintertime.
Dude,
And it happened right when he's pulling up to the jail. And I thought to myself, yeah, when you get in your car with your heater on, you're going to love that.
Mm-hmm. Rob, do you have any interactions with Barth?
None like that. But
No,
yeah.
but you had him for sure. He'd pull you over and dig through the car.
Yeah, he's just a dick.
Yeah.
You know what? He bailed me out one night.
No
Yes,
shit.
he did. He bailed me and another friend, Shane, you out. Yeah, he bailed us out. We got in some trouble. His cousin, we ended up in the front lawn of a friend. We ended up in the front yard of some people right around the corner from, I can't even remember. Anyways, we were hiding inside of her house. She was protecting us, and he figured out real fast where we were at. And he shined the light, and I'm sitting there looking out the window like this. Shepherd, I see you. So I came out there, and he read me and Shane the riot act, and he made us walk around the corner and talk to the homeowners and told them we'd rebuild the fence. So and then he says, "Okay, get your asses home." So we did.
Bonnie had a lot.
I've heard that story before, bro, from someone else.
Yeah, oh yeah, it was ugly.
I have.
I don't know how we didn't die.
Yeah,
yeah, it was insane. I could not believe that he did that for us. You know, I don't know how we went down. I ran into him at a dinner one night, and he was doing after he retired. He was doing security for one of the bank companies that get Brinks. Yeah. He was doing backyard security, but he, you know what? He wasn't near the prick that everybody thought he was. He did do a lot for the kids in that neighborhood.
He let us go.
Yes, he did.
A few times, but he booked us a few times, a bunch of times.
They had no choice with me. Right. I had to go down.
Anyway, so DUI.
So when did you meet your current wife?
Oh yeah, that's what I was sitting here just thinking. Where's this go from there? Well, she split, and it was right around Christmas. I remember that because there ain't gonna be no Christmas. I wasn't gonna do a tree and all this stuff, and then I ended up. It's a crazy story. He kicked this gal out that he had been with for years, the millionaire guy that my wife went and eventually married and had a couple kids, and they're divorced now too. But karma, I guess they call it. But so. He kicks her out of the upstairs apartment. She moves in with a friend in the bottom stairs apartment. Well, she thought when the split up happened that we were just going to like swap. Like she's going to come live with me.
The gal he just kicked out.
The gal he just kicked out. Like he took my marriage, my wife, and the one he's going to marry when he gets his million. Apparently he wasn't. And in my opinion, she was way better looking and hotter than my ex. And so I couldn't figure out what was wrong with this dude. And it turned out he wanted what I had. He had a thing on me. And so whatever he could do seriously.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I'm like going, why are you kicking that out for this and a marriage and blah, 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 right? So anyways, she's trying to get her hooks in me. I remember she came a couple days after we found out about the affair or whatever. She comes and puts a lip lock on me in my kitchen, right? And I'm like, like Forrest Gump. I'm like, she tastes like cigarettes because she smoked. And I was like going, what the hell? And I wasn't having none of it, right? My mind wasn't like, yeah, this would be cool. I'm thinking I'm splitting to Nevada where my dad lived. I'm getting out of Dodge. I got to get out of here. And so she got off me and I said, hey, I don't know what you're going to do, Barbara, but I'm going to Nevada. And so, but she was still trying, angling. So this girl drops her off at my house one day because she had a car and no license, Barbara. And this girl, who I didn't know who she was yet, had a license and no car. So she drives her over to my house and comes in for a minute. And I'm all about this girl that drove her over here. And it ends up being my wife now, Kimberly. And so we're sitting there talking, and I meet her again, and we're talking, and we're just hitting it off. We're talking about God, all kinds of cool things I was into, right? And not being material. I could just see she grew up like me. And I found out way more later as we stayed together that she grew up worse than me.
Wow. That's saying something, brother.
Yeah.
That's saying.
Beaten with batons, those things kids used to play with till they peed, and her side was alcoholic, drug addicts. She's the only one in that clan that didn't go off on none of that. My wife. So I can't get this girl out of my mind. She loves telling this story, and I'm like, it's so mushy.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, I love mushies.
I couldn't get her out of my mind. Seriously, I was thinking about her all day at work, and so I finally get the courage of, because I didn't have to ask nobody for a date, or because I used to have the attitude like, you're chicken to go ask a girl to dance, or let alone go out with you. Then I got to where, well, all they can do is say no.
Right.
If you don't, you never get a yes if you don't get some no's or get something, right? So I decided to go call her. She worked at the Nutcracker.
Oh boy,
my favorite.
She waited.
Great
Yeah,
steaks.
yeah.
And cheese fondue.
Oh yeah.
And shrimp scampi. I love it.
Well, they were grooming her there to manage the place, and she was 20. I was 25. So this was before cell phones, and so Barbara, the other gal's trying to get her hooks with me, is at my house. So I leave to a payphone and to call the Nutcracker and try and get to talk to Kim, right? And this is the part that kills me. Like this took my ego to like nothing. I go, could I speak to Kim? And she gets on the phone and goes, hello? And I go, hi, this is Mike. And she goes, Mike who? Apparently I wasn't in her mind as
much as she was in yours.
She says, Mike who? And then I explain. She goes, oh, hey. Then it changed. I go, I'd just like to know if you'd like to get to know me better. And she said, well, sure. So we made a date. I picked her up from work and we cruised out around the reservoir, the old Trestle Bridge.
Yeah.
We kicked back there talking. Then I'd take her back to work. It was just her break. And then it just evolved from there. We ended up getting married. And
where was Joseph at during this?
Joseph was living with his mom and the abusive stepdad.
Okay.
Because
in the upstairs apartment or in their mansion?
In the upstairs apartment at that time.
Yeah.
And then it was just really weird because my wife, I left that part out. She lived in the downstairs apartment where that gal moved in.
Okay.
So that's how they came over together. So Barbara still thought she had a chance, I guess. And I was already dead set on Kim. So I go driving over to the apartments one evening and I knock on the door and I'm just going to try and get Kim. There's no phones back then, landlines. Right. So the door opens and Barbara sees me and she jumps up, gets a big smile. And she says, I can still picture. She says, hey, what's going on? And Kim's sitting there on the couch just like pretending she ain't there. And I go, I came to see her. And she looks, she's like, oh my God, this couldn't be any worse, And she's sitting there not knowing what to do. And Barbara's standing at the door looking like, what the hell? And I'm staring at Kim and she's looking at me like what?
Motherfucker, you just put me in a bad situation.
And I go, well, are you going to get up or what? Just like exact words. And she still quotes it. And she goes, I should have known then to run.
Yeah.
I should have ran. And so anyways, Joe was living with them, and he was mentally abusing Joe. And I would say treating him like he was me. Because he's the one that broke up the family.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he's treating him. I would find out Joe's starting to act up at school.
And Joe's is 4 or 5.
At that time, he's like probably, somewhere around there, 5, 6. He was at Magnolia. And he was starting to act out at school and weird things, And I knew what was going on. And then he told me, and I found out some things. So I went over there and had a little powwow with the
Stepdad.
Mm-hmm. And that didn't go good.
For him or you?
No, the powwow didn't go good because he didn't learn. Basically, I threatened him if he ever did something like that or laid a hand on him, he'd regret the day he ever met the Galleys with. And I'd be in the middle of their living room with my Toyota pickup right in the middle of their dining table. And that kind of scenario almost happened once, but my ex-father-in-law got me out of there before the cops came. Because when I found out what he was doing, I went over there, and he came. I went to talk to the mom, Joe's mom, my ex, about just me and her talk for a second on the porch about Joe. He came out and said, "Get off my property! You get in the house! You get off my property!" So I hooked him in his melon, and he ran in the garage and grabbed a bat, and it was like a hockey fight. And when I heard the bat, I had him. Shirt comes over his head. And then the whole neighborhood came out and rat packed me. And so my shirt was going over my head. And so I grew up playing some hockey in Jersey when we were kids. My dad's got transferred there. So I knew I had to rip that shirt off real quick. I pulled it off myself, and then I was surrounded. But I got out of there before the cops came. Everything just stayed bad with that until I got custody of him because his own mom got tired of him abusing Joe. So she calls me up one day and goes, "Hey, would you want Joe to come live with you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I've been trying to make happen.
How old was Joe at this time?
Oh gosh, probably 7 or probably 8.
And you and Kim were together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And doing good.
Yeah, we were. I mean, just playing their games. No more. Playing their games. We were just doing our thing, and so she went into the frying pan. My wife. I mean, she's have nothing to do with none of this, and she's involved with this dude that's got all these problems on the side. But she dealt with it fine. She's just a mom, and doing her thing, working and taking care of me and Joe. And then let's see, wasn't long. I think, yeah. Joe comes to live with me somewhere after where we just were because me and my wife moved to Nevada for a little bit. Things didn't work out there. No money to be made. And then she was pregnant. And I remember coming home and she just says, "I want to go home." She didn't want to be in Reno no more. So we moved back to Oakdale. And then somewhere soon we got Joe. And so he had baseball practice. And so we were both working, so he was going to go from practice over to her sister's house after practice to watch him till we got off work. Well, when he was going from baseball practice home, to the babysitter, which was my sister-in-law, not at the time she was a sister. Oh, yeah, she was. Anyways, my wife's sister. Joe was crossing in a crosswalk on the highway by Gilman's, right by the high school, and a lady ran him over in the crosswalk. And I got a call at work that Joe got hit by a car and he's at Memorial. And you can imagine that, I'm just flipping out.
Right.
And they don't want me to drive. And so a friend of mine's mom shows up there and she's driving, putting up with me because I'm wanting her to go in the dirt and pass all these cars and to get to Memorial. And we got there to the hospital and all kinds of people there already, and I'm going ape shit. And the pastor of the church we went to at that time, right across from the general store, it was called Word of Truth back then, the Buoys. Pastor Blue, I'm going off on these people that won't give me any information in the ER. And all of a sudden I felt Pastor Blue's big bear paw on my shoulder, pull me back, have me sit down and calm down while he found out something. They were med-flighting him to Fresno because he had a severe brain
Children's
injury.
Hospital.
Yeah. And so they med-flight him, so we're driving, and they didn't know if he's going to live or die because he was...
How was that drive? Because Larry's talked about his drive with Miranda, you know,
I
having
don't
the
even
same drive. I can't.
I don't really remember the drive. I don't really even remember who drove.
But you got there.
Yeah, I don't. I was just trying to think for a second, because it's so psychotic, you know, because you're just I'm the type when I guess it's when trauma happens. Like I remember when Joe was little, he tripped and fell and landed perfectly, center punched his forehead on the corner of the stereo thing. And I run over and pick him up almost as fast as he hit, and I'm pissed. So my reaction is like
Anger.
Yeah, anger.
Fear.
Like I'm not mad at him, but I'm like,
Why did this happen?
that intense of taking care and getting to the hospital. But you wouldn't want to be around me because you're thinking, man, why is he pissed off at because his kid got hurt? That's just the way the fear came out or whatever. I kicked into a whole nother person. And so I think a good friend of mine, Brian Pritchard, drove me down there, I think. You know Brian?
No, just that chair squeaking.
Oh.
No, it's not you. I got to fix that.
I was rubbing on the wall.
Oh, that's what
Yes,
it
it
was.
was the back of the wall.
All right.
So you make it to Fresno.
Yeah, and talked to an ER nurse, and I didn't find out a lot till later, right? Because they were already had the neurologist in there and everything before we even got there, right? And so we're just there, and he's in a room thing, and he's got tubes everywhere.
And he's in a coma, right?
Yeah, he's in a coma. They had to drill his head to let pressure out and put a bolt in, they called it. And he's just on a ventilator and all these things. And he's like swelled up. His whole face is black and blue where the car hit. Like his eye almost popped out of socket from the pressure in his head. Because the car, basically, she hit him with the hard top part of her car, that rail that comes up from your hood along the window.
Right.
She hit him and he went over and that thing clocked him. And he landed up on the other side of the street in the entryway of that Mexican market now.
Right.
It used to be a video store. He flew from that crosswalk all the way to that store entryway. And the first fireman that was there, I knew, was named Craig Davis.
Oh, wait.
We love our
We
boy.
mentioned Craig on the podcast a few times.
We love our boy.
He
was
listens
the
to this
He
first-
listens a lot.
He was the
He'll
first one
listen to
there.
this.
And let's see.
It's a Waterford boy right there.
Yeah.
Baby.
Yep.
Water dogs.
I used to play ball with him. Yeah, the wrestling. You guys all know him. Anyways, my wife was in school with them. She's 5 years younger, so she was in school with some of the old studs from Oakdale, you know?
He's one of them.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. No, let's make something very fucking clear.
What?
He wasn't from Oakdale.
Waterford.
That's a Waterford man.
Where did he
Through
go?
and
Where did he go to
through.
high school at? Where did he go to high
Fuck
school?
you Oakdale motherfuckers.
Where did he go to high school at?
Waterford fucking
I have a
supported that
trophy.
school for fucking years.
I have a trophy with his name on it.
Yeah.
The first name on it,
And it's fucking Tim and Craig from Waterford.
Oakdale High School, it says.
Bullshit.
See
Anyway, go
how
ahead.
much I love Rob. I'll say Tim and Craig were both from Oakdale.
That's right.
God damn it.
Love you, baby.
Jason?
They're still from Waterford.
They're Waterford boys, bud.
Yeah. And Tim was the little one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But anyways, where were we?
Okay,
You're at the hospital.
You're getting ready to get to know what happened
Oh, yeah.
to Joseph.
So,
what was the diagnosis?
We went and then finally sitting there, the neurologist meets us. I don't know if it's the next morning or that night or what. The guy that's making the call was telling
Terry
us.
Hutchinson.
Yep. Yeah, I forgot about. See, you just triggered another thing right there. It goes back to a crazy connection. he talked to us and told us, you know, what he could at that time.
With the brain injury, they can't tell you. They know nothing.
Yeah.
They say, hopefully he wakes up.
Yeah. At that point, they were, if he doesn't die, if he survives, more than likely he's going to be a vegetable, you know, drooling and fed with a tube and probably not be able to, you know, just nothing.
Function.
Right. Yeah.
Can't move.
Like
vegetable.
Tyler was, I described as from here up, perfect.
Yeah.
Because he could think, he just couldn't do nothing about the thought. He couldn't talk.
That's Jason's boy.
Yeah. But he understood everything I would be saying. And then he learned to text with his toes on like a little kid's board thing.
ABC board.
Yeah. And he would, but I had like telepathy with him. He'd just grunt at me a certain way and I'd have to go get ice cream because that was our thing. If I walked in their house without, I'm getting off track, but if
you're fine. We're going where I want to go.
If I walked into the room where Tyler was on the couch and the entryway's down the ways, and I could see as I come through the door, and he's eye fucking me. I'm just gonna say it.
You're good.
He's eye fucking me from the minute I walk in, and I'm walking in, and I'm getting this look, and I'm like, "What?" And he's just glaring at me. And I'm like, you want some dibs, huh? And he's like,
ice cream.
Yep. And
that's what he'd bring him all the time.
I figured because he could actually get them, do it himself. And they wouldn't melt on him, you know, because he'd chaw down a bar too. But these things were perfect for him because he could do that. Wow. And so I'd get the look and I'd go, okay, I'll be right back. And then I learned not to come without dibs because I got them strung out on dibs. And
hey, not to jump we're jumping forward, but I just want to say that Mike had a connection with Tyler where what Mike had went through and what Tyler was going through, because Tyler was in a coma just like Joseph, and Mike already went through what I was going through. And with what Mike was going through, he latched on to Tyler because his boy was gone. Okay. And he latched on to Tyler, and he was there through the whole coma, the hospitals, the come home, the rehabilitation. Mike was there every day. And I don't know if you realize it, Mike, but you latched on to Tyler with, like, your boy was gone, so you latched on to Tyler, what you had left.
I appreciate you saying that because I've blocked how much time I spent with Tyler. Yeah. I haven't blocked that out, but the blur ever since then is like, I can remember some highlights, and I remember going over there. I couldn't even find that house probably if I tried, but I probably could. But I'm glad you brought that up because we were talking about it, and I probably didn't make that connection, but that's exactly probably what it was.
It is.
Because going back to Joe, he was, just done. He was just there, and we were on a waiting game. And
we did that same game with Tyler.
Yeah.
Mike. I don't know if you remember. We did the same fucking game.
And they don't tell you that how many times they tried to take them off support and they still ain't breathing on their own.
So they got to put it back in.
Mm-hmm. And I found all this out they're smart not to tell you because you'll be even worse than you are. And we lived down there basically for 6 months. I did. I went down there Thursday night after work, talked him into Friday off, stayed till Sunday night till his mom showed up, if she showed up, and then I'd go home, go to work, try and keep insurance going, all that shit. And
but no drinking and no just doing the deal.
I was clean down there. There was a point, that's where I broke.
What do you mean?
I had been not drinking at all.
Hold on, let's take a break here. Let's come back where he breaks.
Let's do this. Let's do this, guys, because I want to turn this into episode 42. So we got to learn about Mike, right? We got to learn about Mike. When we come back next week, we're going to get into Mike and Jason's story Next week's going to be tough.
But we're going to pick up where he breaks.
Yes, we're going to
And then
pick
go from
up where
Joseph-
where Mike is starting to pick back up his drinking.
Because Kim's pregnant
At
with
this
Mikey
time.
at this time.
Or he was already
He's a
born.
baby.
Baby.
Right.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and take a break. Let's come back, and we're going to dig into that part. This has been Recovery Unfiltered. You can reach us at recoveryunfilteredpodcast@gmail.com. Come back next week, guys. You're going to want to hear the rest of this. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today.
We hope you learned something today that will help you.
If you did not, come back next week and we'll try again.
If you like what we heard, give us a 5-star review. If you don't like what you heard, kiss my... You can't say that, can you? Anyway, if you don't like what you heard, go ahead and tell us that too. We'll see what we can improve. We probably won't change nothing, but do it anyway.
Hey, thanks, Rob. Come back next week and hopefully something will be different and something will sink in. Take
This has
care.
been Recovery Unfiltered.